It's over, so we're back in regular session, and we will have the report of council action taken during closed session. And so I have one reportable action. The council agreed to a statement with regard to employee concessions, and it goes like this. The City Council appreciates the concessions of all city employees made as part of the recent labor negotiation. The Council recognizes those concessions were made to assist the city through the current difficult financial situation that the city and community faces. This Council looks forward to better financial times that would allow this Council to consider feasible ways to modify those concessions. So that's our thank you to all of the folks on the city staff. And now we will have the invocation. Bishop Mark Miller. Mark?
I hope you'll indulge me as I pray after my own manner, and please, in your own thoughts, substitute that individual that you wish to substitute and how you choose to refer to him or her. Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to serve within our communities, and ask that Thy Spirit will be with us tonight in these proceedings. Please bless the council members, that they may be blessed with keen insight and good intuition, and Thy guidance and direction with regards to the decisions that they'll make. Bless us as a community. Bless us as individuals within this community, that we may make the right choices that will strengthen us personally and strengthen our families, and allow us to make those contributions that are so important for us to make, that we may have a peaceful community and a successful community. We thank Thee for the blessings that we enjoy, and again for those many opportunities that we have to serve and make a difference, and pray that, in fact, we may make a positive difference tonight in the things that we discuss, and may we all contribute to the discussion in positive and uplifting ways that will allow us all to arrive at a better understanding and at an agreement with regards to how to proceed as a community. We thank Thee for those who have chosen to serve, and pray Thy blessing upon them, that they may do so effectively. We ask that Thou bless us now in these proceedings, and we do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
And if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and I have one presentation that I made prior. I'm on September 7th. I presented a proclamation for Constitution Week 2011 to Nancy Thompson of the Daughters of the American Revolution here at City Hall. And our professional photographer, Stacy Alvarez, snapped 2 great digital pictures, so we have proof. And then now I have a presentation of a proclamation for National Pollution Prevention Week. And Claudia has all the pollution prevention stuff that she's going to show off. Whereas the City of Lompoc supports a clean and safe environment for its residents, and whereas pollution prevention is an approach to environmental protection that focuses on source reduction and is therefore a preferable strategy for protecting our environment, and whereas by focusing attention on pollution prevention, the City of Lompoc will meet the challenges of our next century for economic competitiveness and environmental protection, and whereas Pollution Prevention Week is an opportunity for government, industry, and environmental organizations to recognize the potential of prevention and to work together to plan for a prosperous and sustainable future. Now therefore, I, John H. Lynn, Mayor of the City of Lompoc, California, do hereby proclaim the week of September 19th to the 25th, 2011, as Pollution Prevention Week, and urge all citizens and businesses in Lompoc to participate in local, regional celebrations and activities. And please don't throw things in the dumpster that you know are bad. We have a wonderful facility for hazardous things that Claudia's going to tell us about.
Thank you, Mayor Lynn. He mentioned our household hazardous waste collection facility. You just need to call our office, and we take appointments at no charge to our residents in the Lompoc Valley Waste Shed. In regard to National Pollution Prevention Week, or P2 Week, as we like to call it, it runs this week, and we've got a promotional display in the lobby all week, and in the lobby we'll have available our recycled oil containers, recycled oil totes, so you can put your recycled oil in oil containers in your car and take it around they're free of charge. You can pick them up out here this week on display or at the corporate yard all year long, and that way you can transport your mess to our facilities that we have around town at no mess to your car and at no charge. In addition, we have all of our promotional giveaways, our pens, our refrigerator magnets, some coloring books. They're all available out on the table, and they're in English and in Spanish. We also have a drawing for our compost bins. We're going to be holding a raffle and give away 5 compost bins. We'll be calling the winners on Monday, the 26th. The compost bins are normally sold for $22 a piece, and they're subsidized half by the city's solid waste program. We're going to be at the farmers market this Friday from 2 to 6, interacting with the public, and we'll have all of our oil containers and our brochures to give away as well. We've been doing this for several years, and we'll have our tote bags available at the farmers market for free. They are made out of plastic water bottles and soda bottles, and we've been doing the farmers market P2 week for, boy, as long as I can remember, about almost 15, 20 years now, as long as farmers market's been there. So we appreciate all your support, and we look forward to seeing you on Friday. Thank you.
Claudia, could you recite where the oil drop-off points are around
There's
town?
several around town. The ones at the airport. They're 400-gallon tanks. Some are black. Most of them are black now. They used to be white. They're 400-gallon tanks. One's at the airport. One's at the city corporate yard. One's at the landfill. One's at the solid waste yard. There's one in the alley, kind of tucked around behind Perry's. And I believe that's all that we have available.
They're
not unmanned. They're 24/7. They have a pour spout in the middle, and you can just, that's for your used motor oil. And then there's a 55-gallon drum sitting next to them in kind of a green igloo for your filters. Any hazardous waste, you need to call us and bring it to us at the facility. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank
Bob?
you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Ms. Stein, that's okay. Trying to get away from us, aren't you? Two of the questions that I get asked most are batteries, little cell batteries, and they are not supposed to be put into our regular trash. Do they just take those down to the hazardous waste place?
Yeah, we request that you have an appointment only so we have staff available. But we have 5-gallon buckets that are labeled for batteries here at City Hall. We have them at the library, both fire stations, and I believe the police station, and the rec center.
Okay, so people don't have to take them there and take any.
Yeah, and at the corporate yard in our office.
Okay, good. The other question is fluorescent light bulbs. Those are hazardous as well.
Yeah, they are technically not legally. In the old days, you used to be able to throw them away, and then they changed the rule so you could throw up to 5 away, which usually covered your kitchen. Now, 0. But we do take them for free from residents, and then at the hazardous waste facility, again, requesting the appointment. And then there's a charge for businesses, but we just pass on the charge that we pay for disposal. Okay. And then Mary Kamer, through the utility division, has some programs, rebate programs. I'm not 100% sure about those, to swap out your more energy efficient lighting and your ballast. If you have any information for your business, you can contact Mary Kamer.
Are you referring to, because I had heard that there is a for lack of a better, a fluorescent bulb that is not hazardous? Or are all of our fluorescent tubes, no matter what type, they all are?
As far as I'm aware, they're all supposed to be disposed of at a facility like ours. Because I wasn't thinking about this subject, the little ones that, yeah, the little curlicues, thank you, Mayor. You can take those back to, usually at the place of purchase, and I know Home Depot takes those.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
And City Administrator's Director Status Report.
Honorable Mayor, City Council members, audience, and viewers, the City Administrator's Status Report includes status updates on 3 city projects: the Dick Dewey's Community and Senior Center, the Lompoc Aquatic Center Dehumidification Project, and the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of Ocean Avenue and R Street. Senior Civil Engineer Mike Luther is here and available tonight to report on these projects, and I will invite him to the podium at this time. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members. I'll begin with project number FY10-S-1. That's the traffic signal at Ocean and R Street. The status of that is on September 1st, the design contract with M&S Engineers was fully executed by the city. And on September 13th, a project site meeting was held with city staff and Caltrans and the design engineer to preview the site and basically kick off the project for design. The next step will be a initial proposed design letter from the design engineer to Caltrans and the city reviewing the options for the signal. Happy to take any questions on the R Street signal. Okay, moving on. I'll move on to the Aquatic Center. There's since the last update, all the equipment is installed, hooked up, and startup is the major issue that's keeping it from starting the project and using the dehumidifier, and that is the factory startup with the dehumidifier supplier, Desert Air, and that is scheduled for October 3rd through the 6th. And so after that date, the system should be operational. The only outstanding work left to do is the equipment screen on the roof. We finally got a submittal approved, so they are in the process of ordering the screen.
What was the, I'm sorry, who had to approve the submittal so we could put the screen up?
The screen is reviewed by the architect, the design architect. We had to do a little modification to have access on the roof. It wasn't hindering the roof access.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what was the startup date?
They're scheduled on site for October 3rd through the 6th.
Thank you. Anyone else with a question on that? You can go ahead with your next.
Okay, and the senior center. Let's see. Since the last update, we are technically still behind on contract days. We have not reached an agreement on days due to the contractor, so we are still at the point where his request of 175. Still negotiating. We had a meeting this morning, our weekly construction meeting, and the contractor and our CM are scheduling a meeting next week in LA to discuss schedule. As far as construction, it's moving forward. The skylights are on site and scheduled to be installed next week. The roofing was installed 2 weeks ago, so the roof is on. They are installing drywall, electrical conduit, ducting, working on the inside. They've begun site work. They've rough graded the parking area and installed the trench drain in that area. And that's about where it is at this point.
Bob?
Mr. Luther, I realize you're just a messenger, so don't take anything personal. This has been a pain in my side for years now. It's been a pain in the city side. It's just really frustrating. You drive, I mean, I know you say construction is proceeding, but I drive by that place, and for months we hardly see anything going on. It looks, to me, it looks the same as it did, well, a month ago, 6 weeks ago. And I'm sure you or whomever is doing whatever you can. I hope you're doing whatever you can. But give me some promising words that we're going to see this thing open soon.
Well, I can't guarantee anything. I can't.
I realize
like,
you can't
like I
guarantee.
said last time, I can't direct the contractor's work. All we can do is hold him to the provisions in the contract, which is if he doesn't finish within the contract time, there's liquidated damage provisions. You know, obviously he's claiming that we owe him time, so it's more like a contract dispute at this time. We're trying to get him to proceed as fast as we can, and that's about all I can do.
Bob, let me make you feel better. Can you describe that gigantic excavation and that they completed and put, I think it's the percolation system in?
It is it's basically a detention basin for the parking, so all the drainage from parking lot has to be filtered off-site, and the only way to get that was to first drain it into an underground storage area, and then it will be pumped out. So yeah, there's a large gravel pit in the parking area. Pretty much probably half of the parking area was excavated last week, and that was installed.
Mr. Luther, who is negotiating the time extension from the city side?
It's not really a negotiation at this point, as they've said what they're due, and we review it, and it's the contract manager. We have on their staff is a scheduling expert who reviewed their schedule, commented back, didn't feel that the days were appropriate, and so we're going the back and forth.
So it's our contract manager that makes the decision?
He doesn't make the decision. He's reviewing it, and he consults with city staff. So he consults with me, and I consult with the public works director, city engineer.
Okay, thank you.
He's the lead negotiator.
He's the first point of contact.
Okay, any other questions? Cecilia, Ashley, any questions at this time? Hearing no beeps. Thank you. And now we'll move on to oral communications. Who of you out there would?
Mr.
Did I
Mayor.
miss one? Oh, I did.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I thought you're not done.
I have an announcement to make.
Sorry about that. Oh, and it's an important one too.
Very important. Mr. Mayor, council members, audience and viewers, it is my pleasure tonight to introduce Lompoc Economic Development Director, Assistant City Administrator, Teresa Gallivan. Teresa, please stand up. Ms. Gallivan is an economic development professional who comes to us from the County of Riverside, and she has worked 15 years with the Economic Development Agency, and she holds a master's degree in business administration from Cal State University, San Bernardino, and a bachelor's degree in from UC Irvine. Ms. Gallivan is an extremely focused, energetic individual who I am certain will be a strong asset to the city of Lompoc. And this is her second week here, and she is off to a very positive, productive start. So welcome, Teresa.
I'd love to invite you to come up to the microphone and say a couple words.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been welcomed very warmly by the community. As the city manager explained, I did hit the ground running, and and have been learning and absorbing a great deal of information and meeting the great team that I'm working with. So again, thank you for the warm welcome, and I look forward to working further with the stakeholders, the community, council, and the administration.
Thank you. Before I cut you off a second time, is there you have anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you, Mayor.
And do we have any staff requests or announcements? No. Okay. And so now we have the consent calendar. Oh, I'm not doing well tonight. See, I tried to do that earlier, and then, okay, I'm just starting over. Now we're back to oral communications. Anyone here would like to talk to us about anything? Yes. Come on down.
My name is Jack Blakemore, and I live at 1009 East Oak Avenue. And a few years ago, Gary Keith, just before he left his city manager job, he brought up a situation about a peaking plant that he wanted to put in down by the sewer plant and then use the exhaust sewer water to run the boiler on the thing. And in the late 70s, I worked on a peaking plant out at Daggett, and they had 2 jet engines and then a waste heat boiler. And General Electric was involved in the operation, and they said it was the most efficient powerhouse they had going. And he suggested that we use the offshore platform off of Surf Beach there and slope drill into the state waters to get the natural gas, and then the processing plant up on the hill would process it, and the city would have the natural gas. On top of that, all the city vehicles could be run on natural gas, and there's a engine manufacturer back east that converts the motors to natural gas, even the diesel plants or motors. And I thought it was an excellent idea. And then the waste heat boiler, the exhaust of it, could be piped steam out to the greenhouses, and the city could meter the steam there, the exhaust steam that would have to condense anyway. And it just seemed to me like one of the most efficient things I've seen in an awful long time. And working out on that plant, rated one of the most efficient plants going for producing electricity. I just thought it was maybe with the conditions that we have today and everything, that it'd be a good idea to give a rethought to it. It would create jobs for operators. It would also really bring in a new industry for greenhouses, and they could have it'd probably be a reduced rate than what the gas company would charge them to heat their greenhouses. And my son insures flower growers, and up on Los Osos Road, a guy was originally from down south, and the properties got so expensive down there that they blew it away and opened up in Los Osos. And he was producing chrysanthemums out on that Los Osos Road. And his heating bill, I asked him about it, and he said it run from $6,000 to $10,000 a month. So if you had that reasonable steam coming in for heating, it certainly looks like you could, the growers would, by natural attrition, would be planning on moving in this area here. And I just thought it was a positive thing that could be done in the community. And at the time Gary Keith put it forth, they screamed their heads off it would be an excessive pollution and everything else. But if you stop and think about it, if you had all your city vehicles on natural gas, you would eliminate an awful lot of pollution, and it'd be reasonable for the city. You'd be one of the most efficient cities in the state of California, just about it. I think it's worth giving a lot of thought to. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Carol Benham, Lompoc resident. I really just have, good evening, Mayor, City Council. I just have a question. Like Councilmember Lengel, I was very interested in the update on the community center. I don't know if it was an oversight. The city administrator's report gives you an update when you link to the, click on the city administrator's report. It references the staff report. The staff report references an attachment from the contractor, but which I presume had all the detail on the delay. But the attachment wasn't actually downloaded, so you couldn't view it. And I don't know if that was an oversight or if this is now confidential, so one can't view that from the contractor. It's listed as attachment, but as you know, if it's linked, you can click on it and it'll take you there. And that didn't occur. So if it was an oversight, I'd love to be able to get a copy of that. Thank you.
Carol will provide you a copy of that, and it is not confidential. It's public.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Going once? Going twice? Gone. Okay, back to council. Consent calendar. We're going to go once around. Is there anyone that wants to pull an item from the consent calendar? We'll start with Ashley on the screen. Ashley on the screen. Ashley shakes her head no. Cecilia in the magic box.
No.
And to Bob on the right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull item number 4.
Okay. And Dirk in the middle.
I'm not going to pull an item, but I wanted to point out that in our register of expenses that we did have an expense of $4.5 million that I felt we should point out that went to the State Water Resources Control Board for our solid waste plant. I just felt that was important that people know that that plant is out there costing us a lot of money now. So I had other questions. One of them was concerning the authorized submittal of grant funding applications for the San Ynez Riverbank Stabilization Project. I understand that all we're going to do here is seek authority to go ahead and apply for grants, but this has never been brought up at council but at workshop, and I just wanted to put it out for public is what options are we going to look to get primarily? I know, Mr. Bean, you're out here, you're here for this question. There was 4 options in the consultant report. Did we ever come up with an order of priority that we were going to go ahead and try and do these in?
Larry? I think we selected. There was one selected, wasn't there? Wasn't the preferred option the post and cable?
You're correct, Mayor Lynn. The preferred option was the post and cable, and there's 2 locations. One where Barton meets 7th Street out there past the Schuyler's property. That portion cost estimated about $2 million for the repair. And then there's another little washout farther to the south near where the bike path runs along Riverside Drive. And that's about $750,000. And we're going with the post and cable, both locations.
So that would be listed as the option, the option 4 version then.
I don't remember the options in.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
But in our
option 1. The other question I had are we going to pursue anything downriver later? Are we going to ever try and do any kind of pilot channel through the Willows in the lower valley?
No, not to my knowledge.
It's outside the city limits. Okay. And okay, so Ashley and Cecilia both have your agendas in front of you, right? So we're going to pull item number 4. So this vote will be on items 1, 2, 3, and 5. I don't believe there are any items on the vouchers that affect my business, but if they are, I hereby abstain from those items. And could we do roll call vote, please? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not doing well. Okay, somebody needs to move it. One of you guys here, come on.
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept the consent calendar with the exception of item number 4.
Okay, and a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent calendar, and now a roll call vote.
Stacy, reset me.
Council Agency Member Costa?
Yes.
Council Agency Member Martner?
Cecilia?
Yes.
Council Agency Member Starbuck?
Yes.
Council Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Lingle?
Yes.
Mayor Chair John Lynn?
Yes. Okay. And now to Council Redevelopment Agency requests and announcements. Councilmember Lingle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize, I forgot the gentleman's name that spoke at public comment, but I'd like to see us request a staff report on the project that former City Administrator Gary Keefe had. I think it'd be interesting to take another look at that.
Could we maybe request getting a copy of the prior report to start from before we go exploring
I
down
think,
that road?
yeah, that's what my opinion of the staff report would just be, that report.
The prior report,
Yeah.
okay. And I'm certainly in favor of that. But it takes 3. Who would like to be a third? Okay. Councilmember Starbuck is the third to request a copy of the former staff report. Okay. And Councilmember Lingle, do you have anything else to report? Okay. Councilmember Starbuck. Okay. Councilmember Martner.
Nothing at the moment.
Councilmember Costa.
Nothing.
Okay. I attended a number of functions. None were at city expense. I think I put 900 miles on the car in 2 weeks, and we saw a lot of country together. So it was all good things. And now unfinished business. Larry, did we get what we need to proceed with this item? I'm sorry, I didn't ask beforehand. For George Miller Drive, can we proceed with it now? Okay, good. The reason I asked the question is we had this on last council meeting, but we lacked a document from the feds, and now we have it. So, the award of project FY10 AP-1 George Miller Drive resurfacing, and Mike Luther, it's you again.
Good evening, Mayor, Honorable Council. As you stated, this project is for the resurfacing of George Miller Drive in front of the airport. This is a FAA grant project. It is 95% funded grant, 5% city match. The city match portion is made up primarily of Measure A funds and about a third of that with airport reserve. We received 5 bids. The lowest was Rockwood General Contractors Incorporated at $232,278.92. The construction engineer's estimate was, oh, I'm sorry, I read the, I'm sorry. There was actually, we had a base bid and an alternate bid. What we did is we weren't sure what the bids were going to come in, so we had some alternate bid items, and that total I gave you was for both the base bid and the alternate bid. So that was the total bid. The alternate bid consisted of some concrete improvements, along the side of the road. It was basically some drainage improvements. So what I'd ask tonight is that the council approve the plans and specifications, award the contract in the amount of $232,278.92 to Rockwood General Engineering Contractors, and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement, and authorize the city engineer to approve contract change orders in a total aggregate amount not to exceed $46,455.
Okay, and we'll go once around. Councilmember Martner, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Councilmember Costa?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Lynn. I actually do have one question.
Speak up just a little.
I'm sorry?
You'd speak just a little louder, get closer to your microphone.
Okay, I do have one question. My question is, I noticed we were looking at taking $5,000 from the airport reserves, and my question would be is how much is remaining in the airport reserves if that $5,000 is used?
I don't have that
I
answer.
don't think we have that information. Brad's not here this evening. Oh, there he is. Brad.
The project was budgeted with airport funds as a match. This requires a 5% match from city funds. So that $5,000 was actually budgeted, and it's called airport reserves, but it's really the budgeted amount, the necessary budget amount to meet that 95% requirement.
So it's money the airport's made and put in the bank account,
Yeah.
and now they're spending it on this project. It's not a reserve in the classic sense.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Lingle.
No questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Starbuck.
No questions.
Okay. And now for public comment. Is there anyone out there that would like to come and talk to us about paving the airport road, which surely needs it? Seeing no one rise, I would accept a motion for that. Councilmember Starbuck.
I move that council go ahead and adopt specifications for project number FY10 AP1, award the contract in the amount of $232,278.92 to Rockwood General Contractors, and authorize the city engineer to approve contract change orders not to total in excess of $46,455.
And Councilmember Martner.
I second.
Good job. Dirk says you scared him.
I think our beeps were simultaneous because I pressed mine. Were you able to hear my beep?
Yes, but you guys had overlapping beeps, so we really, I think you over beeped us. So maybe we'll take turns at that too. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the council at this time or any other questions? Hearing no beeps, seeing no lights, could we move to a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Martner? Yes. Councilmember
Wait, say it again. Sorry, I didn't get to the button fast enough.
Councilmember Martner?
Say yes again.
Yes.
I was a little slow on the button.
Councilmember Starbuck?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lingle?
Yes.
Mayor Lynn?
Yes. Okay, that passes 5-0. So far, so good. Okay, moving on to item number 7, the award of project number FY11S-2 2011, the Slurry Seal Project. And Mike, you didn't even get to sit down and get comfortable, did you?
Good evening again. This is for the award of construction, the Slurry Seal Project. The Slurry Seal Project consists of applying a polymer modified.
Excuse me just a second. Ashley, you need to know there's a screen presentation and you're no longer up there in twice life size.
Okay.
Anyway, the Slurry Seal Project consists of applying a polymer modified slurry surface treatment to various city streets. As shown on the map. The map's a little hard to read, but The boulder lines up there are the streets that we are working on in this project. Slurry is a fine aggregate and oil mixture used as a preventative maintenance treatment. Since it is a preventative maintenance treatment application, it is used on streets that are in relatively good shape to extend their useful life. As a requirement to be eligible to receive federal road funds, the city must maintain a pavement maintenance system, which is called a PMS system. All city streets are rated in the PMS system by a pavement condition index, a PCI, which is on a scale from 0 to 100, with 0 representing the bottom of the scale and 100 representing a newly paved street. Typical candidates for slurry seals are streets with a PCI index of 70 to 90, in that range. As part of this project, we are proposing to implement some striping changes on A Street between Central Avenue and North Avenue. These proposed changes are as a result of concerns the Lompoc Unified School District brought to the city engineer, particularly with La Honda Elementary School. The engineering division has been working with the Lompoc Unified School District to address these concerns and come up with viable solutions that will calm traffic and improve safety. And I have a diagram here, and I'll walk you through the proposed changes. This is North Avenue on the left and Almond on the right there. So basically we are doing what's referred to as a road diet. We're reducing the number of lanes on A Street, trying to slow traffic, calm traffic, and it has a so here we are keeping the original configuration. We're going from 4 lanes as you approach from North Avenue on A Street, and we drop down to 2 single lanes with a center turn lane and dedicated bike lanes on both sides of the street. As we progress down the street, it's basically the same. And as you approach Barton Avenue, the street actually narrows 2 feet. It goes from 64 feet down to 62 feet, so the lanes get slightly narrower. We go from a 12-foot lane in each direction down to an 11.5 with a 11-foot turn lane in the center. And all along the road here, I should point out that we have a dedicated parking lane on each side, which is 9 feet wide. And there's a bike lane, striped bike lane in there that's 5 feet wide on each side. There will be a dedicated left turn lane as you are heading south on A Street, turning into Barton. And then we get to some of the issues that the school had. They, as we all know, as parents drop and pick up their kids from school, the current configuration, they would have a backup in the southbound in the right-hand turn lane, in the right-hand lane, which would back up, holding up traffic in the through lanes. And as you headed north, people would, trying to turn left into the parking lot, would back up in the left-hand through lane, which creates traffic congestion and other items. So as you can see here, we've illustrated with the red cars there that we can, I'm showing 10 cars here, but it'll actually stack 12 cars. Our engineering tech went out and observed school on several days to observe how many cars actually stack up in the street before they could turn, and the maximum he ever observed was 10 cars, so we meet that capacity. And as you see there, I think it shows better on the next slide, but so as you approach on the top there, there's a dedicated right-hand turn lane turning into the parking lot. So the driveway that heads into La Honda School, it'll be a dedicated right turn lane in, and the cars that are stacked up in the center turn lane will turn into the half of the driveway. So that's only an entrance. It's not an exit. The exit is at the other. So they drive in the parking lot one direction, and they drive out the other driveway. And the exit driveway is a right-hand turn only, currently. As we head up to Bush and approach Central, we transition back to the existing lane configuration with the exception of we continue the bike lane all the way to the intersection. That is basically the proposed changes. This, as part of this, we have also been able to, in front of the school, here to the left of those stacked cars on the entrance driveway, it used to be loading, unloading zone. We've re-signed that area to be 3-minute loading zone during school hours only. So when school's not in session, residents will be able to park over there and on the weekends. And we are looking into removing what is currently the bus loading zone. It's red curbed and signed. We are going to just sign it so that we can allow parking on the weekends for any events that are happening at the school or residents to park. So it'll just be no parking during school days from 7 to 4 for bus loading. Those are the striping changes. And as far as the project itself, we received 5 bids ranging from a low of $909,040 to a high of $1,389,524.20. The engineer's construction estimate for this project was $1,014,885. So the bids came in very competitive and very, very good. So at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions you guys may have.
And we'll start from the right. Councilmember Lingle.
I'm going to take a temporary pass.
Councilmember Starbuck?
Did I understand correctly that all the street parking is going to stay in place?
Yes. Okay. There's no reduction in street parking. So there will actually be an increase from what there currently is during non-school hours.
Okay. Councilmember Martner?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Councilmember Costa?
Yeah, if I can ask Larry Bean to approach the dais. He and I spoke briefly about this agenda item before I left, and I would just like to go over some of the questions that I had asked him previously.
Hello,
the first question I had was, what other projects are competing for this money? And I'm under the impression that there are no other projects competing for these funds.
That's correct. We had budgeted the $800,000 for the project in our budgeting process that we went through, and we were able to have a few more dollars left over in the TDA funds after we had our new contract with our transit operator, and some of the reductions that we put in place to make our fare box ratio. So we are using that money to add to our street project.
And the other question that we discussed was why a stop sign would not, or multiple stop signs would not be sufficient in this case.
The intersection that we discussed was Barton and A Street, where you see in the previous plan that was up there what's known as the ladder crosswalk. We wouldn't put a stop sign and stop the 8,000 to 12,000 cars a day to make every one of those stop when the only time we have congestion is at 8 in the morning and 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it wouldn't meet warrants for traffic. And we're reluctant to put in stop signs when we don't have the warrants met, because it does leave the city with some liability should there be an accident, such as a rear end caused by someone stopping at the stop sign.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Lingle, you want your pass now? No? All good? Okay. And now we'll open this for public comment. Is there anyone out in the audience that would like to talk about this? Come on down.
Mary Saladino, Lompoc resident. Thank you for your presentation. Since you're talking about city streets, and especially A Street, where the railroads that go through the middle of the road create a problem, I think you covered that. But I was wondering, do you have any plans to correct the railroad crossing at, I believe it is Locust and maybe C or D, a residential area, where after you pass Hapgood School, it continues on, the railroad continues on, and if you cross, you might just destroy your car, unless you're going 5 miles an hour. So I don't know if that area was part of your plan. I didn't hear it in your presentation, or if you are even aware of it. So could you consider at some point fixing that? It is very bad. And then since we're also talking about streets, this week around 3 o'clock in the afternoon I decided to take a walk in Beatty Park, and I realized this is a park area, but I was on the upper level and I was looking for a shady spot to park my car, and I noticed one in the next level down and a little bit to my left. So I came down, and as I came around to come over here, the shade from the tall trees was on the black asphalt, and my sunglasses were on, and maybe my cataracts were an issue as well. But at the same time, I ran into the point, just this sharp of the curb that is sticking out, because the curb is designed so that it comes out like this, and busted the tire, had to have a tow truck. So I looked for where is the dividing line. How did I get so far over there? The dividing line is as thin as this microphone stem. So while I realize that's a park issue, could you please fix it?
Let me answer the railroad track issue, because there's two others in town that are equally problematic, and the difficulty is the Union Pacific Railroad is they're their own world, I think is the only way I could describe it. But I would be happy to write them another letter with regard to that location.
Okay, have you traveled from C Street westward on Locust, I think it is? Have you ever hit that railroad track?
Yes, I'm familiar with
so
it
you
in,
know.
in
Okay.
several
It's very
areas.
horrible.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? Seeing no one rise, we'll close oral communication and come back to the council. Does anyone have any further questions on this item at this time? Councilmember Lingle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to compliment the staff. This report, I have to admit, was, when I was looking at the diagrams in the packet, they were very difficult for me to evaluate, but the presentation tonight was extremely well done. I want to thank you for it. It answered all my questions. Good job.
Councilmember Starbuck? Yeah. Councilmember Martner? Councilmember Martner, you have any other questions at this time?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Councilmember Costa?
Thank you, Marilyn. I just wanted to say that I was very pleased that we as a city are focused on maintaining infrastructure. I think that this is a great project. I'm also glad to see that there will be improvements made in front of the school, safety-wise. So with that, I would like to move that we adopt the specifications for project number 11-S-3 as required by Section 22039 of the Public Contract Code. Award the contract in the amount of $909,040 to American Asphalt South, Inc. Authorize the city engineer to approve contract change orders in a total aggregate amount not to exceed $100,000, and allocate $359,040 of TDA Article 8 funds to project account number 25030-80070.
I'll go ahead and second it.
Thank you. And I just want to say that I got an education earlier in slurry seal and cap seal and overlay. So if anybody wants to read my notes on that, I'm now fully competent to discuss those as the alternatives for various pavement conditions. And so thanks to Larry and the guys for making me a PCI aficionado. Anyone else have a comment? Okay, seeing no one signal, we'll start from the left this time. Councilmember Costa.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I took away your job. Go ahead. Okay, Councilmember Costa is a yes. Councilmember Martner? Councilmember Martner?
I'm having difficulties hearing.
We're voting on this now.
Okay, so yes.
Thank you. Did you understand it clearly, or is there something you wanted to have explained?
No, I understand it. It's just that I had difficulties hearing the motion.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll restate it next time. And Councilmember Starbuck?
Yes.
Councilmember Lingle?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Now I'll give you your job back, Stacy. Sorry about that. And now for item 8, the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, alias the CAPER. And with this evening's CAPER, it sounds like some kind of a criminal activity, but it's not.
It is not.
Dinah Lockhart.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. I'm here to ask City Council to receive the fiscal year 2010 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report and direct the Community Development Department to file said report with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The city's 2010 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, which is called the CAPER for short, summarizes accomplishments made from July 1, 2010 through June 30, 2011, using approximately $1.3 million in pre-2007 federal Community Development Block Grant Program entitlement funds and Community Development Block Grant Program income funds. This report will summarize accomplishments contained in the city's fiscal year 2010 CAPER, which is an attachment to the staff report, and also city accomplishments contained in the fiscal year 2010 CAPER prepared by the Santa Barbara Urban Consortium, which will be released by the county for public review in early September 2011. And that report is currently available in City Hall for public review. A summary of CDBG program accomplishments in 2010-11 include the distribution of approximately $45,000 in Lompoc CDBG program income to 5 different programs under the city's public services program. In addition to this amount, an additional $41,000 in local human service donations contributed by Lompoc utility customers and the Comcast Cable Company was allocated to 9 additional local agencies. Additionally, the administration of the Single-Family Rehabilitation Loan Program, which expended approximately $130,000 to both lead-based paint test and make loans to rehabilitate 4 homes in Lompoc. In addition, we processed 4 loan payoffs, which repaid the city $109,000 to the CDBG program income fund for future loans. The Legal Aid Foundation of Santa Barbara County provided a fair housing compliance program under this grant for $5,775 in Lompoc, which investigated tenant-landlord issues. In addition, was the expenditure of approximately $1.034 million in CDBG program income for the development of the Dick DeWeese Community and Senior Center. The investigation and follow-up of 150 new or existing cases opened in 2009-2010 under the CDBG Code Enforcement Program in the low and moderate income census tract areas, and the resolution of 154 new or existing code enforcement cases. This figure is in addition to code enforcement cases investigated and resolved in non-CDBG eligible areas of the city utilizing general funds. The design, engineering, of the Lompoc Public Library Heating, Ventilation, and Air Conditioning, or HVAC, Energy Efficiency Project. Now I'm just going to skip down here to the last page. In 2010-2011, Lompoc was also allocated $545,950 in CDBG Urban Consortium Entitlement Funds. Of those funds, approximately $49,460 in CDBG code enforcement was expended, $81,892 in public service contracts, $109,190 for CDBG Home and Human Service Administration, $79,773 for the Lompoc Library HVAC Capital Improvement Project, and $39,632 for the Emergency Repair Grant Program. And in that particular program, Catholic Charities administered that program and assisted approximately 12 extremely low-income households with emergency repairs to address health and safety issues. The CAPER was posted for a 15-day public review period, which began on September 13, 2011, and will end on September 27, 2011. The CAPER will be forwarded to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development with any public comments received prior to the September 28, 2011 deadline. And that concludes my staff report, and I'm here available to answer any questions you might have.
Just to freshen up my memory, the money that is being used for the community center, was that the revenue stream that came in when the old community center was sold?
Yes.
Okay, so this is just putting back out the money we got back. Okay.
Yes.
Councilmember Martner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I have a question, I have a comment, and I have a recommendation. In page 5 of the report, there is a pie chart that is titled CDBG Entitlement Expenditures. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether everybody is seeing that pie chart, whether the public has preview of that pie chart. But in that pie chart, the biggest part of the pie is program administration, 30%. Can you tell us what that is?
Program administration, which I explain a little bit more on page 2, the fourth bullet down. That money, which represents $109,190, and those funds are used to actually administer the CDBG Home and Human Services program here in Lompoc.
Okay, I don't have the PowerPoint presentation, but so basically 30% of the monies go to the administration of the funds, paying salaries and so forth, city staff salaries, correct?
Well, according to this pie chart, it looks, because I'm using preliminary expenditure figures, it looks like 30% of the funds expended were used for administration.
Right.
But
okay. So 30% of the funds were expended to pay city staff and to administer these funds. They did not go out to the community per se to provide, programs for the betterment of the community. They basically went in to pay city staff to administer these programs. So I have, somewhat of an issue with that. I think that if we have programs that are meant to go out to the community to administer programs that would better the community, we should spend a larger portion on that as opposed to having the largest portion being spent on basically paying city staff salaries. And that takes me to my personal issue with some of the CDBG programs and the enforcement of those. I don't think that we have done a very good job in enforcing and following the guidelines of these contracts for these programs. So I have a recommendation to the 3 city staff that signed this report, Ms. Barcelona, Ms. Lucille Breeze, who I see she's the interim community development director, I didn't know that she was promoted to that. And then to you, the development program manager, Ms. Lockhart, I would ask the three of you to look into reducing these expenditures as far as program administration and trying to find ways in which you can actually put that money in the community in a better way, and two, to really look in better ways to be more efficient and effective in running these programs and contracting and executing the contracts and so forth.
Okay, thank you. I think, let me ask one question. This is not the pie chart of all the money in the program. This is the pie chart of one portion of the program. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. So if we took, and I think it's confusing because I looked at it too, and I read it the same way that Councilmember Martiner did. If we took the total of all the parts of the program and added them together, which would be approximately $1 million who? No, 2 million what?
If you looked at all the money that was expended this past year, it would total over $1.6 million was actually expended.
Okay,
so
and then
of that amount, 109,190 would be considered administration of that 1.6 that was actually expended, because under the program administration program, we don't charge direct program income. So that 109,000 is used for administering both the program income portion as well as the entitlement program.
So that would be about 8 and a fraction %. Oh, now you come up with a calculator. Something in that vicinity.
What was it, 190,000?
Councilman Martin, it was 109,000 out of 1.6 million, but this chart, is very, it doesn't.
It is very
go
confusing.
in the right direction.
You know, what's the point then to have that chart? I'd like to ask.
Well, I felt it was more accurate to separate out the different funds, because the CAPER that I am submitting to HUD is only for CDBG program income. However, there is no, perhaps I could have done it in a separate staff report to council to discuss accomplishments under the entitlement program. But historically, when I've taken this report to council, it has only been for the report that the city is submitting to HUD. So essentially, I was trying to do two things in one staff report, and that's why I created two different pie charts, because they are two separate funds. The entitlement monies are administered through the County Urban Consortium, which is administered by Santa Barbara County, whereas the CDBG Program Income Fund is administered directly by the city.
Okay. So the previous chart on page 4 is the more accurate representation of how that all the funds income had been spent. Is that correct?
The first pie chart reflects, as the title indicates, pre-2007 CDBG entitlement and program income. And I made that distinction because these are funds that are directly administered by the city. So this was directly administered by the city. The second pie chart are funds that the city received through the Urban Consortium. So it would essentially be the expenditures from both charts. The charts are only designed to reflect kind of a proportionality, and that's why I tried in the staff report to provide the actual dollar amount spent by program.
Any other questions, Councilman Martiner?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. And my math here is it's about 6.5% of the total program. Okay, and
What was that?
I don't know, but it was from your end. This new technology is great. Okay, seeing nobody else with a question at this moment, let's go to public comment. Is there anyone here?
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I actually do have some questions.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Costa.
Thank you, Marilyn. My first question is that in the CAPER summary, there's an unexpended balance. And I know in previous council meetings you stated that having monies allocated is better than non-allocated. So this is unexpended. Is that, does this look bad in any way for us in this report?
These are rollover funds, right?
No, I wouldn't say it looks bad. This is available program income. It is primarily in the economic development revolving loan fund as well as the housing rehabilitation loan fund. This amount also includes monies that are in reserve for the Charlotte's Web project. They also include monies that are in reserve for what is left of the theater renovation project. So the unexpended balance does not mean these are funds that have that are not programmed. They are simply what is in the fund balance.
Okay, thank you. And the second question I have is on page 13 of the report. There is a statement that in PY 2009, there were 2 CFC recipients in the Lompoc Valley, Bridge House and Mark's House. And I was curious why this information from 2009 was included in this current report.
And that's probably a typo, and I apologize for that. As a matter of fact, I did look on the HUD website, and in fact, funds in the fiscal year 2010 program were also awarded to the Bridge House and Mark's House, and that was on the HUD website. I still need to do research. I don't know whether those funds were actually dispersed to those programs, but they were awarded in 2010.
So that's going to be difficult for me to want to approve this report without having that information, because I do note that on a previous page, I believe that is page, let me just a moment here, page 10, you do mention that the Lompoc Housing and Community Development Corporation's inability to provide current financial aid documentation, et cetera, essentially means that we did not execute the contract, or excuse me, did not grant the award for those 2 shelters. So there needs to be some consistency there. I'm not sure what the information is.
Councilperson Costa, these are separate grants. The city does not have control over the award of continuum of care funds. Those are not funds that are administered through the city.
Is that the consortium?
It's actually it's yet another entity. Yes, I guess you could say it's the consortium. Yeah. The consortium administers what's called the Continuum of Care grant in Santa Barbara County. So yeah, you're right.
Okay, and so essentially we would be approving this report tonight contingent upon this paragraph being edited possibly?
Yes, this is a typo. It should read program year 2010.
And I'm sorry, what page is that on?
That's on page 13, third paragraph, second sentence.
But you're still unsure if those were actually given?
The sentence is correct. I just can't say whether the funds were actually dispersed to that agency, but that's not the intent of this report. The report was simply to say these were the funds awarded. The city didn't control those awards. I should explain that the CAPER is a very formula. It's a boilerplate, kind of a template document that HUD asks you to respond to. The CAPER does not necessarily reflect all funds that funneled through the city. In some cases, they could be funds that came to the community. So, for example, the Continuum of Care program represents funds that came to the community, but not necessarily were funneled through the city. So we didn't have control over the disbursement of that.
Thank you.
So what you're saying is it's more of a wide overview of the community, not just strictly the activities of the city? Is that
Yes,
what I'm getting?
it's kind of a HUD, kind of an overview of what HUD is doing in the community.
It's the HUD umbrella. Okay, Councilmember Martner?
Yes, I have talking about actually the Marks House. Have we ever conducted any lead-based paint at the Mark House, testing for lead-based paint?
I would need to review the file on that.
Could we get some information on that? It can come later on, but I'm looking at in here that there is, there is a lead-based paint testing, and you do mention a couple of places when you're not talking about this CDBG. About the Marks House. So I would like to know whether the city has done any testing there, since we do have CDBG funds going to the Marks House at one point in time.
Okay.
Have had.
I can check that.
Okay, thank you.
And
Maybe it can go into a report and go for the public record somehow. I don't know exactly how you do that, but
a document coming back to the council members. City Administrator, is that okay?
Memo form in your
Memo
boxes.
form, yes. Everybody good with memo form? Councilmember Costa, you can nod up and down. I can see your head. Councilmember Martner, is that good for you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Then, seeing no other questions, let's go to public comment. Anybody out there dying to talk about a caper? No one wants to get in on your caper. Any other comments from the council? Councilmember Lingle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Lockhart, getting back to the program administration, I had a similar question. I understood it when I looked at the pie graph on page 4. I just want to, for example, if we had, instead of the $1.6 million to distribute, if that had been $2.6 million, same staff would have distributed, I'm assuming, and the program administration would have been even a lower percentage. So the percent program administration is somewhat based on the amount of money you have to distribute.
The amount available for program administration is based on your annual entitlement, which is 20%.
Correct.
So we have up to 20% of the annual grant to spend. But Lompoc has, I guess, a wonderful opportunity because they also have program income. So it's that same amount available to disperse however amount of money the city has in program income.
Okay. What I'm trying to get at is, if we had more income, would you require additional staff to distribute that? Or would we have do we have adequate staff to distribute if we had $2.6 million?
It would actually depend on the type of program that the city wanted to implement. Some programs are more labor intensive than others. For example, a public works project probably would not require additional staff because we have staff available in the city, we have engineering staff. They would very well perhaps be able to adequately administer a public works project for well over $2 million, and we wouldn't have to add staff. A public service program, a loan program are very labor intensive. So yes, you would see probably a need for more staff. So it all depends on the program.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Okay, seeing no lights lit and no beeps, we'll vote from the right this time. There I go without the motion again. Ashley, you're not here to watch me. I'm just not doing well.
What's that?
I said, you're not here watching me, so I'm not doing well. So I'd accept a motion.
I move that we accept staff recommendations.
And a second.
I'll go ahead and second it.
And we have a motion and a second. And any further the motion was to accept staff recommendation. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, could we vote, please?
Yes.
No. It's her turn.
Mayor Pro Tem Lingle,
Yes.
Councilmember Starbuck,
Yes.
Councilmember Martner, Councilmember Costa,
Yes.
Mayor Lynn.
Yes. Councilman Martin, I'm sorry, wasn't fast enough on the button. Could you repeat your yes for the record? Can you repeat your yes, please?
Oh, yes.
Sorry about that. This multitasking is getting to me.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Okay, coming back to order now. And we'll be taking up item 9, the adoption of Resolution 574811, Resolution of Intention and Introduction of Ordinance 1157711 to amend the contract between the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System, CalPERS, and the City of Lompoc. And our Human Resources Manager, Beth Flam Overby.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. As you recall, you asked that staff go to the negotiation tables and achieve concessions that would allow for second tier of retirement for the miscellaneous groups as well as the safety groups. On August 2nd, you adopted MOU for the Teamsters and a compensation plan for management, supervisory, confidential, and unrepresented groups that would allow for the second tier of retirement, a 2 at 60 full formula that would become effective once this amendment to the contract is made. You also, on August 16th, adopted an MOU for police, the Lompoc Police Officers Association, that would allow for a 3 at 55 full formula, second tier. And in order to achieve that, we bring this resolution to you. Following the resolution, we would then bring to you after at least 20 days an ordinance that would allow us to amend that contract. And that is the purpose and intent of this resolution.
So this is the housekeeping.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions from the council at this time on this item? Nope. Seeing none, we'll open it to public comment. Is there any public comment on this item at this time? Seeing no one rise, we'll come back to council, and you can come back to the podium. Now, Councilmember Lingle has a question.
Thank you. Just for public out there, many people do not understand what 2% at 60 and 3% at 55 means to the common person, ordinary person. Would you try to explain that to the public?
What that means is that it's a formula that they utilize based on the number of years that you have served. Your average of your 3 highest years of compensation, it's quite complex. It's 2% of that average and the number of years. And you would be eligible to receive that at that age, 60.
Thank you.
So if you worked 30 years and you were on that, what would it boil down to?
It depends on the person, how long.
No, not the dollars, the percentage.
2% of...
Times 30 years.
2% times the average compensation, the 3-year highest level compensation, times the number of years, and then at the age of 60, you would be eligible to receive that.
Okay.
That's
thank
a simplistic means of articulating it.
Well, we know it's government, so it's not simple. Are there any other questions from the council? Councilmember Martin, do you have a question? No, I don't. Okay. And are you beeping, Ashley?
I do have a question.
Okay. Councilmember Costa.
You may have said this and I may not have heard you, but what is the what occurs when someone is hired between now and November 19th when the contract amendment will be effective?
They would be eligible for what our current contract says. So our current contract is 2.7 at 55 for the miscellaneous groups, and for the police safety, it's 3 at 50. So until the amendment is put in place, they would receive the current contract calculations.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, I would accept a motion. Councilmember Lingle.
I move to accept staff recommendations.
Councilmember Costa.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the staff recommendation. Let the record show that there was a typo on the bottom of the agenda, and what we're adopting is the staff recommendation, which has the correct word rather than the other one, which had the wrong word. And is there any other discussion at this time? Seeing none, could we roll call vote, please? And be from the left this time.
Councilmember Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Martner?
Yes.
Councilmember Starbuck?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lingle?
Yes.
Mayor Lynn?
Yes. Okay, now we're going to come back to item 4 from the consent calendar. And Councilmember Lingle, you asked that be pulled, so give you first crack at the deal.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I have no problem with the approval of a parade, okay, and everything that goes along with it. What I'd like us to discuss is the idea of a holiday parade versus a Christmas parade. For many years, this event was called the the Children's Christmas Parade. And I'd like to ask some questions of, I believe Dan McCafferty is here to speak on this. Mr. McCafferty, my question is, several questions. When was this event changed from a Christmas parade to a holiday parade?
Just a little background. In November of 2000, staff came before the council with the annual request for the closure of North 8th Street for the Caltrans permit to include the sponsorship request. At that time, part of our report where we talked about the annual Children's Christmas Parade, it brought up some discussion. And there was some sensitivity about those that do not celebrate Christmas and political correctness. So once again, going back to 2000, this is where it first came up. There was discussion at the council level. There was no formal action. However, there was sensitivity to it. Staff took a position to be sensitive, and from that time forward, it became known as the Children's Holiday Parade.
Okay. So other than some discussion of some sensitivity, was there any data, statistics to indicate how much resistance, how much concern there was, or was it just because there was some concern, we decided to go with the holiday parade?
There was no statistics. It was just concern, and there was concern at the council level.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like, we could discuss this, but what I'd like us to do is bring this back at a future date to a council meeting. I'd have no problem with approving this evening, but bring back discussion at a future meeting and get public input. We as a council have agreed to be as transparent as possible, ask for public input, and I don't believe there was really public input taken into this back in the year 2000, whatever it was. I'd like to bring this back. The idea of it being called a holiday parade or a Christmas parade, bring it back for discussion, asking the public's input on this, and then deciding whether we want to keep it named as a holiday parade or a Christmas parade. But I'd like to hear from other council members their feeling on this.
Let me ask two questions. Dan, with regard to this, if we made that, if we gave you the approval tonight, which I think we would be able to for the parade, and we put the naming decision off until the first meeting in October, would that cause you any substantial grief in your forward progress?
No, not at all.
Okay. And I spoke earlier.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No problem.
The only detail would be as it goes to the permitting process for Caltrans. So it's officially the name of the parade, the Lompoc Children's Parade, Holiday Parade, excuse me, I'll get that straight yet, or the Christmas Parade. So it's just a play on words at this moment. So this year, whether we go forward as a holiday parade and possibly for future years, staff will come back for this request, and then, of course, possibly the 2012 year could be considered either way.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be satisfied with that. I spoke with the city attorney about this earlier, and so I'm going to have him give that dissertation that he gave me so that the council has the benefit of it.
The issue that the council would need to think about and consider from a legal perspective, and that's all I'm speaking on is from a legal perspective, is whether or not the use of the word Christmas could cause a concern by someone on the issue of separation of church and state, and whether or not that somehow could indicate some preference or something that the council would be considering for a particular religious group as opposed to another. The issue really comes down to whether, irrespective of what the government objective is, what your intent is, if the practice, meaning the naming the parade, Christmas parade, somehow conveys a message or endorsement of a particular religious feeling or belief, meaning the Christian religion, then that could cause a legal problem because of the constitutional prohibition on the city taking any public action to promote a particular religion.
Okay, and it's my understanding that some cities call it a holiday parade and some cities call it a Christmas parade currently. That's what I'm told and what I've seen on my internet walk.
I don't know, that may be true. There's no specific case that I have found, meaning a case from court, that specifically discusses whether a city can call a parade a Christmas parade or is prohibited from calling a parade a Christmas parade. There are definitely cases that have said that a city can promote a holiday and even have something that they call a Christmas tree, because the idea of a Christmas tree is not necessarily secular in today's environment. You couldn't hang religious ornaments on that Christmas tree. That would be a problem. So again, I think ultimately, because there isn't any court decision one way or the other specifically, there's flexibility, but one consideration you would have from a non-legal perspective is what Mr. McCafferty discussed, which is the idea of sensitivity and diversity for those that don't necessarily believe in Christmas, which stands for Christ Mass. So,
I don't know, I think from when you said Christ Mass earlier today, I went, really? Wow, I never heard that. So I guess what I would say is, from my perspective, it's more of a generic description of a holiday season. But okay, I'm sorry, who had their light on first? You're both pointing at each other.
I'll go first.
Councilmember Lingle.
I understand the sensitivities of this. I believe I'm just going after the tradition of it. We would not hang, I don't want to use that word, we're not going to hang Christ-like figures on our parade route. We're not going to, I don't imagine we would. It'll be a Christmas parade. There's going to be Santa Claus, there's going to be reindeer, there's going to be Christmas tree, there's going to be everything associated with the Christmas that a child thinks of as Christmas. Candy canes, yes.
Stockings, you forgot.
Yeah. So I would look at this similar to your description of the Christmas tree. It is, people still call it a Christmas tree. And here at City Hall, we will have a Christmas tree, but we will not be hanging Christ-like figures on it. We will not be hanging a cross. Same thing with the parade. That's my envision of this. It's just the tradition that we all grew up with, Christmas. And that's my idea of bringing it back. But I believe we have to be sensitive to the entire community. And that's why I'm asking to bring it back, get input from the community. If the community comes back and says, no, we want to call it a holiday parade, we have no problem with it, we leave it as a holiday parade. But we never asked the community what they wanted it called. So that's my only point. Bring it back and let's ask community.
Councilmember Starbuck.
Yeah, well, just to comment on it, I was going to say that if Santa's in it and he's featured in it, then it should be a Christmas parade. He's the last one.
Okay, I guess my preference would be to table the item and bring it back as a agenda item, not a consent item, at our next meeting and make that decision. Let's see. Councilmember Costa and then Councilmember Martiner.
Thank you, Mayor Lynn. This is the first I've heard of this, so I feel a little blindsided. I'm okay with bringing this back and allowing the public to comment on this decision change that was made by staff and not directed by council. But I would like there to be the option of adding the word Christmas and keeping the word holiday as is, so Children's Christmas and Holiday Parade. I don't believe in exclusionary policies whatsoever, and I'm very surprised, to be quite honest, that we're even discussing this in this day and age. But if we have to, I'm okay with bringing it back to allow for public comment. I would just like the option to be Christmas and Holiday Parade. Thank you.
Good point. Councilmember Martiner?
I don't have a comment at this time.
Are you comfortable with tabling it and bringing it back for public discussion at the next meeting?
Oh, well, I thought that Councilmember Lingle needed 3 for this, right? Are you asking me if I'm one of the 3?
No, but I'm asking if you want to be number 4.
Oh, no, if he has 3, so be it.
Okie doke. So this item is tabled and brought back. And then written communications. Let the record show that she shook her head no. And oral communications, your last opportunity to speak to us on any subject. Seeing no one rise, we'll close oral communications. And does anyone have a further report? We kind of got 2 licks at that today. Bob, I think Councilmember Lingle, this whole informal thing's working hard on me. I think you want to make a report on the festivities this coming weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully everyone has had the opportunity to see the posters around the community, hear about the events, read it in both the Santa Barbara News Press and Lompoc Record. This weekend, the Lompoc Veterans Memorial Building is celebrating its 75th anniversary. This building, as it's affectionately called, the Grand Old Lady, will be turning 75 years old. The Restoration Committee has done a fantastic job in a few short months, well, probably a year, 18 months, of doing a remarkable job restoring it. We have, I say we, but they have completely re-roofed the facility. They've redone some of the acoustics in the building, redone the floors, took up some old tile and carpeting. It now has beautiful hardwood floors. We are redoing all the wiring in the building. This has been done on private donations, grants. No public funds has been put into this, and a lot of sweat by about a 12-member committee. But anyway, this weekend, starting on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, in front of the Veterans Building, there will be a performance by, there's going to be the high school bands performing out there. There will be a little performance by a vocal group. There's going to be proclamations by Elton Gallagher's office, by Senator Sam Blakesley's office, by the City of Lompoc, and the County of Santa Barbara, all honoring this building. There will be, following that, there will be tours of the building. If you would like to have a private tour of this building and see what's inside and what has been done, starting approximately around noon till 2, somewhere around there, you're able to have some private tours of the building. Hopefully you'll be able to get up into the high tower of the building. The tower, during World War II, for those of you that may not know, those of you that may have been here, was actually a lookout station for Japanese aircraft during World War II. During the restoration, we found an actual log of people that were spending their time observing or looking for enemy aircraft. It's just a fantastic building inside and out. That is Saturday morning. Saturday evening, and tickets are still available, but they're very, very limited. We can only sell 225 tickets. I know for a fact we have sold over 200 so far, but I'm assuming, yes, there are a few tickets still available. At $55 a piece, you'll be treated to a dinner and dance. The dance will be by a 12-piece orchestra, the Dick Clark Orchestra, and that is Saturday evening. Then coming back Sunday, there's going to be a orchestra performance in the courtyard, and it's both the Saturday morning and Sunday morning events are free, and the tours are free. The only event that you'd pay for would be the dinner and dance Saturday evening. So I encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to attend Saturday morning's performance and dedication, and also Sunday morning's performance. If you have an additional $55 that you'd like to spend and have a wonderful meal and dance, contact myself. You can contact the over at the Veterans Building in Joni Gray's office. They have tickets available there. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you out there. It's just going to be a fantastic, fantastic event. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Starbuck?
The only thing I wanted to report out of the ordinary was I represented the city at the Prisoner of War Missing in Action ceremony on Vandenberg Air Force Base on September 16th, and it was a very nicely done ceremony, so thank Vandenberg.
Thank you. Councilmember Costa?
I just wanted to note that there were 2 instances of city cost. The first was on September the 8th for the Economic Development Forum in Santa Maria. The city did pay for my seat at that event. I think it was very useful. There were some wonderful speakers that I made contact with, and also networking like crazy, as I know all of us did who were in attendance. The second thing is that I am currently in San Francisco for the League of California Cities Conference, and this is at a cost to the city. Thank you.
Councilmember Martner?
I don't have anything at this time.
Thank you. And I attended the same Economic Development Forum and came away with some really good ideas. I'd like to thank our new Economic Development Director, who came all the way from Riverside on her own time because she hadn't actually started yet, and went to the forum and soaked up a lot of things, and I was able to get her introduced, and life was good. Along with Councilmember Costa, I'll be leaving in the middle of the night to drive to beautiful San Francisco and learn some more things and bring back some more good information. I would be remiss if I didn't invite all of you to join me for the Mayor's Ball in support of the United Way's reading program. And if you are not familiar with it and you would like to learn about it, it is absolutely amazing. It will take students up 2 to 3 grade levels in a year. I am completely impressed. The theme of the ball is Chicago After Dark. If anyone has a Thompson submachine gun, I'm still looking for one of those, and a fedora to go with my tuxedo. And my wife is looking forward, and it is in Santa Maria on, I'm going to say it's October 2nd. It's October 1st. I didn't bring it with me, but it's going to be a great deal of fun, and the proceeds from that benefit the reading program, which is in a number of Lompoc schools. Every school that had it last year applied again to be part of it this year, and basically the program doubled in 1 year. It's going to go from 600 students to 1,200 students, and it's been so successful that they've gotten very substantial donations. So what this event will do is just add more students to the program. And, reading is the fundamental basis of life and library use. So, and that's my report, and we have the one beep. Go ahead, one beep.
Sorry, I had one last thing I forgot to mention. I believe it was 2 council meetings past that I mentioned that I was on the board. I was a new board member of the District Libraries Foundation. I have I don't know the correct word. I've moved that position. I've left that seat, and consequently have been hired as under contract with the foundation as their grant writer, and I will be writing the grants, attempting to raise the remaining $1.2 million funding gap to build Charlotte's Web. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I was no longer on the board, but I will still have a conflict of interest with certain issues related to Charlotte's Web, and the city attorney and I will work together to ensure that I recuse myself from any of those decisions.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think that's it. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Gone. We are adjourned to the Lompoc City Council Redevelopment Agency meeting 6 p.m. on October 4th, as there will be a closed session.